Pension issues are somewhat sensitive in Nigeria, and the provision for political office holders has been one of public discourse for a while. When the National Assembly last year, as part of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, proposed pensions for principal officers of the House and the Senate, a war of opinions thrilled the legislature for such a proposal. However, the bill passed in the National Assembly. Contrary to that, the Kwara State House of Assembly surprised Nigerians in February by deciding against a popular practice in most states of the Federation, amending the law that provides for pensions to be given to governors at the end of their tenure and halting the trend. Should political office holders have access to pensions, and under what conditions? How do we deal with those who have served in various capacities under government? This is Nigeria Today. My name is Cliff Ayozie. You're welcome. And with me in the studio to look at the issue of pension for public office holders is the Head of International Relations and Liaison Officer to the National Assembly, Comrade Uchenna Ekwe. I'd like to welcome you.
Thank you very much.
Also with us in the studio is a regular face on Nigeria Today, Public Affairs Analyst, Jide Ojo. It is indeed my pleasure to have you join me.
Thanks for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
Well, gentlemen, it's really a pleasure to have you look at the issue of life pension for public office holders. But one issue that people want to know when we talk about pension, what really is pension? And how should one be entitled to it? Let me start with the liaison officer.
Yeah, pension is that emolument which somebody who have worked receives at the end of the working period. Those payments, most times people get monthly. In the past, the provision of pension law for the working people in Nigeria was not contributory. The moment the worker enters into a contract of work, he is entitled to pension and gratuity. And that is accessible immediately after completion of time of work, which usually was 35 years of working time or 60 years of age, the one that comes first.
Okay.
The person now becomes pensionable. When the system was disciplined enough and they were setting aside funds for pension and gratuity, usually the working person gives like 3 months in lieu of notice of retirement.
Okay.
And within those period, upon retirement, automatically the person start earning pension. But in the course of time, there become a lot of mismanagement of funds and rascality in part of so many people in the area of governance. Those funds were not set aside looking forward towards the retirement period of people. Okay. And this resulted into owing of pensioners, and they got to a crisis point. When they got to a crisis point, everybody agreed that we'll now have crisis in our hand. And after long discussions, the labor movement led by the Nigerian Labour Congress conceded into what we have today, the new pension regime of contributory pension.
I think you've made your point there, Comrade Ekwe. I'd like Joe to come in here because we have an act to repeal the Pension Reform Act number 2, 2004, and enact the Pension Reform Act of 2014, which prescribes for contributory pension. Then the National Assembly last year, as part of the amendment to the Constitution, recommended life pension for principal officers for the House and the Senate. How would you describe such a step?
It's a disservice to the country. You recall that when that move was made by the National Assembly, it was stoutly resisted by the civil society. But, you know, they railroaded themselves into what they wanted to do, that the principal members of the National Assembly should be pensioned. But what is agitating the mind of average Nigerians are many of these distinguished senators and honorary members of National Assembly are retirees in their own right. They've served in different capacities, some of them in private sector, in public sector, some of them are retired. Like the former Senate President David Mark, was retired as a general in the army, was former communication minister, was former governor, and has been in the Senate since 1999. People like that, which one should they be handing all their military pension, and at the same time as principal officers or former principal officer as Senate President be? And that is not right. I think something should give way. If at all you want to enjoy pension as a political office holder, then you have to forfeit the one you are earning previously. But even at that, which one, when you look at the number of years of service, somebody has served for 35 years and is on pension, and somebody now has worked as a political office holder for 4 years or maximum 8 years, and he wants to be on life pension. That, compared to the average Nigerian worker who toil day and night to run the government, it is not right. Because political office is a service to the nation. You are not compelled. It is because you offer yourself for service. If you know that the perks of office does not amount to what will attract you to that office, you should not venture there. Rather than saying that you want to go there for personal aggrandizement, you shouldn't serve for 4 years and then you want to receive pension for life. What about those average workers who have put in 35 years or the better part of their lifetime working for this country, only for them not to even receive their pension and gratuity? They are, even with the contributory pension you mentioned, many pensioners are still being owed. They are still being owed. They are not being paid as I went to, particularly those who are in civil service.
Yes. Ojo, you've really made a point. The issue of multiple pension to an individual citizen that have served our country at one point, it's not restricted to the National Assembly. We also have some ministers who have been governors at one point or the other. I want you to come in here. What does the law say? Is it healthy? Is it legal for someone to earn pension from two sides or more than that?
Well, I try to show you the definition of pension.
Yes.
The assumption of pension, basically, it is a retirement benefit. Pension is
how many times could one retire?
And the law anticipated,
yes,
the original law anticipated and say that nobody should earn pensions in two different places.
Okay.
First, it is morally criminal for somebody, forget about the law now, for somebody to really earn two pensions. And here, jumbo pension. It is even worse now that the Pension Act have really amended to become contributory pension. That makes it even worse. The only exemption right now on contributory pension is the military. And that is after making a case because of the nature of their service. So now, how can somebody who does, because actually in earning in the new pension regime, you are earning from what you have contributed. That's what that law have stated. Now, you have not contributed, where will the money, because it has a real economic issues, where will you get the money to be paying, to be funding this new pension? Well, in the earlier pension, the law anticipated that the moment that person starts working, you start setting aside for it. Is that failure?
Okay, you've made a very valid point there.
Pension.
You've made a very valid point.
Where will you get the fund to fund this pension you want to create? And like it has been raised here.
This is coming from one source,
government. As it has even been raised here. Now, I mean, I didn't want to go into it. You have several individuals now earning 3-4 pensions.
When those who are qualified, serving 35 years, are not even getting their
As I'm talking with you
okay,
now,
let's look at some statistics.
Unable to remit its own part of contributory pension into the tunes of hundreds of billions. Where will you now get the money to fund these emergency new pensioners?
Okay, you've made your point. Even some of those governors that are earning multiple pensions, as the case may be, failed to remit, the due of workers, money deducted from their salaries while they were governors. You've made a point there. A publication in February, I quote pointedly, the Vanguard newspapers revealed that taxpayers spent about 37 billion naira to sustain the pension and other benefits of 47 former governors of 21 states of the Federation. So what do you make of this? 37 billion naira. How it could impact on our economy. Ojo?
You know, that's why I said earlier, it's a disservice to this country that you are elected for 4 years, either as a governor or as a senator or as a house member or as a president, and you want to earn a living off the state, parasitic living of the state for the rest of your life. So many of them are in their 40s when they get elected. In fact, some of them are 30s when they became governor. I recall my former governor in Osun State, the late Isiaka Adeleke. It was about 36 years when he became the governor of Osun State.
We had governor, a president or head of state at 32.
Oh, so just imagine if after 4 years, you now start to earn pension for life. So if you don't die at 120, the state continue to bear the burden of your... And you know, it just... Like Comrade said, it's morally wrong, it's legally wrong. I don't know the motive. You know, let me not say I don't know the motive for those who passed that bill. What they thought or what they gave, the excuse they gave was that they don't want people to steal while in government. They don't want them to start looting the treasury because of after office fear. That, oh, when they became ex-governor, would they still be able to maintain a decent living? But for God's sake, if you are afraid of it, don't go to the kitchen. If you think your life will be worse off financially, becoming a governor or senator or House of Reps member or a president, then stay in on your regular job. Stay on your 8 to 5 job.
Jide Ojo, I will hold you there, and Comrade Ekwetu, when we'll come back. Well, the program is still Nigeria Today, and we have been looking at life pensions for political office holders. We'll take a break now to welcome the views of some Nigerians who spoke to this very issue.
It's an insult to a civil servant. Civil servant who will put in 35 years, then pay the pension. They are adequately remunerated when they are in office. They have some entitlements. They have so many benefits that civil servants don't enjoy. Okay? So those provisions are made because because government is aware that these people will only be in the office for a short time, and they are not supposed to be paid pensions.
Their position is tenure. Some of them, you do 4 years. If it is executive, you just have maximum of 8 years. So it's not tenure. It's not like public service that you invested your whole life. So they're not supposed to be entitled to pension.
Okay, but your
Politicians are not they are not a public servant. Understand? They are into politics. So I know the situation whereby they decided to request for at the end of their tenure, requested for money payment, or for the gratuity, or what is it called, pensions. I don't think they're supposed to request for pension at the end of their tenure.
That's the people opinion there, and we'll still continue on this conversation as we look at the issue on hand, life pensions for public officers. And we discussed about 37 billion being expended to patronize or to give pensions to 22 state governors and all that.
Point.
That's the starting point. We're not even updated it, so to say. I'm looking at this 37 billion being held by the governors, current governors. Are we likely to see lack of payment of salaries, lack of payment of gratuities, and other infrastructural development projects? How could that impact, Comrade Ekwe?
You can't, how can we be asking, are we going to see? We already are seeing.
I mean, if this amount had not left the treasuries of the states, to
of course, where salaries are being owed because of reckless spending, wrong choices of where funds will be put. That's the simple reason why salaries are being owed.
Okay, why we continue on that?
But there's something more serious.
Okay.
Even from what he said, if the argument, and it's very interesting to me, is that you need to put this pension so that you don't encourage political office holders to become corrupt. For me, it is actually an incentive for corruption. Why? What do you need? Why do you need pension? To sustain your life after working for certain years and getting to a position where you are now weak, unable to put and the society invest in you. What is that fear of many political office holders when they leave outside office? It is the fear of funding a lifestyle, an ostentatious lifestyle that have been created, which have led to the greed and avarice that have led to corruption. Now, what should be the incentive is the knowledge that if you start living an ostentatious living and you have an opportunity, because where will the main fund go? The funds goes into servicing generators, funding boreholes, funding things. The incentive will now make you be sure that while you have opportunity to be in power, that the electricity should work, that water should run, that the roads should be good. Then your financial need after office will not be too big.
Okay. Comrade Ekwe, let's look at another issue, because most states' House of Assembly appears to be an appendage of the executive, and the governors tend to influence them with some sweeteners to make certain approvals, like the pension that we're talking about. How would you look at this? How believable is it? While some deny it, but we see things playing out. Already, the River State has declined the local government autonomy.
No, I mean, it didn't muster up to 24 states in this ongoing constitutional amendment exercise. That's the very saddening aspect of it, my brother. It's when you look at public service in Nigeria, and compare it to what obtains in developed democracies, you find it at variance. In America, in Britain, people are poorer going into government. Obama lost money as president of America. He was making more money as a congressman, as a senator. You know, he was giving public speeches, he was selling books. You know, he wrote about 2-3 books. But when he became president, there are even gifts that he cannot take. If it's more than, I think, $50 or $100, if the price of the value of a gift is more than that, he cannot take it as American president. But in our own case, what did we see? Even a local government chairperson will have house in Dubai. And that's what has been an incentive. A public service in Nigeria, particularly elected public office, has become a drain pipe on the very meager resources of this country. And that is why people kill and maim to go into it.
Okay.
Because of this kind of thing. Look at, when you roll out the statistics, there are states where their former governors are earning billions in pension. Billions. This is money that will have been spent to build infrastructures in those states, to even cater for the welfare of workers that they are paying in percentages. There are states that are paying percentages in salaries for the past 2-3 years.
Ojo,
yet their own, they draw on, and their former governors draw on their own pensions in full.
I know how you feel about this, and I know how you feel about this, and I'm sure most Nigerians feel the same way. But one state assembly, Kwara State, spent about 350 million naira, you know, carrying out this law, the law that was passed. That's payment of former governor and maybe another beneficiary along that line. But now they've amended that law to check the trend, to say, well, this will not hold again in Kwara State. Do you see these other states taking a cue?
Yeah, unfortunately, there is a huge crisis at the level of state assemblies. And the answers are not very close by.
What is the way forward? What are the things we need to do?
That's the area
How do we check this phenomenon?
The only way we can check it is citizenry activism in the various states. Right now, you have many people in states, almost in all the states. And this thing have come to a ridiculous level. I'll start from the ridiculous level it came from. The state assemblies, in 2 amendment attempt to amend the constitution, the National Assembly proposed financial autonomy to state assemblies. It was so ridiculous that the state assemblies voted to reject financial autonomy to itself. That can speak volumes about the nature and character of what we have today as state assemblies. And the citizens of the various states are not happy. Because today, if you go to almost every state, the man in the street can discuss the national budget, but knows nothing about his state budget.
Okay.
Because they are passed some in 2 hours, some the longest 24 hours. That's how ridiculous. And if you check the level of fund that is spent across the states, that's why you can have that massive figure with 22 governors. And that speaks volume about the damage not running the state properly is given to the nationhood Nigeria.
Thank you very much. You're talking about citizens' activism. Ojo, what's the way forward? How can we checkmate this? Are we likely to see that in our lifetime, the way things are going? Lack of independence for the state assemblies, influence of governors on state assemblies, and how things are playing out?
Again, much as I don't want to be copying from the Book of Lamentations, it's quite disheartening that we may not in the nearest future, unless there is this public interest litigation, in addition to citizen, and maybe I should not say in addition, as part of citizen activism, people need to go to court and challenge some of these legislations. Because I know if there is judicial intervention, let's even stay within this issue of life pension for political office holders. I'm sure that if citizen or non-governmental organization go to court to challenge this piece of legislation in many of the states, they will be annulled. I mean, the court will give favorable judgment to those the non-governmental organizations that this is not what is envisaged in our pension law. And as such, to that extent, it's ultra-vires. But in as well as we continue to lament and fold our hands and stand at cable and discuss at beer parlors and vendor stands, and we don't take the necessary action, mass action, as to even march on the National Assembly, that this is not the kind of legislation we want you to march on the State Assembly. This is not the kind of legislation we expect you to pass. You are our representatives. Why is my father? Let me paint the real life situation to you. My father served as a teacher for 40 years. From 1955 to 1995. He died without collecting his pension in 1998. Oh. So it's a real thing. It's real to me, and that's why I'm very emotional about it. If ordinary workers who have served diligently this country die without receiving their own entitlement, why should somebody who was just a governor for 4 years or 8 years or a member of National Assembly because you are a principal officer and life pension?
Okay.
As a result of that.
Which is more honorable, if we told the line of Machiavelli, who says politics for some remains an end in itself. Getting there, you have everything in your hand. And another school of thought believe that it is a means to an end. That is, some aspire for financial benefits, while others render service that touches on the lives of the people. Comrade Ekwe.
Of course, I'm one of those who never believe in Machiavelli. That's a theory of wickedness, which many politicians have copied and have abandoned serving the people. But for a long time now, I keep preaching on the citizens rising up. The politicians have gone, or some politicians have gone to serve their interests. It is we, the people, that will say, we are not ready to take that.
Okay.
And I think now is the time. Even the judiciary, well, it's good to look at them.
I think I have to stop you.
But some
here.
of those judgments,
yes,
they have also shown heavy compromise. So the citizens must question.
Head of International Relations and Liaison Officer to the National Assembly, Comrade Uchenna Ekwe, I'd like to say special thanks to you for your perspective to this conversation.
Thank you.
And of course, our public affairs analyst, Jide Ojo, thank you so much for the insight. I'm sure your dad, you will make up for what your dad lost.
I hope I can. I seriously hope I can.
Well, that is the program for today. Join us tomorrow as we take on another issue. Same time, same station. My name is Cliff Ayoze. Have a good evening. All right.